From the Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Zahra Syed. Our top story tonight. The UN Security Council has vetoed a US draft resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza amid Israel's ongoing war there. It marks the fourth time since October that the Security Council has failed to agree on such a resolution. The US has previously vetoed 3 resolutions demanding a ceasefire. This time, the dispute was over the United States insisting on linking a ceasefire with a hostage deal and condemnation of Hamas. Critics argue that the draft fell short of calling for an unconditional ceasefire, which is in line with what Russia and China have demanded. Both countries have criticized the US draft for its conditions, with Moscow accusing Washington of a hypocritical spectacle. The US resolution received 11 votes in favor, but faced opposition from Russia, China, and Algeria, with Guyana abstaining. House of Representatives Speaker Republican Mike Johnson is extending an invitation to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to address Congress. In an interview with Squawk Box on the CNBC network, Johnson said he would love to invite Netanyahu to address a joint session of Congress. He stressed that it is very important for the U.S. to show solidarity and support for Israel. Johnson's remarks came one day after Netanyahu told Republican senators that Israel will continue its efforts to defeat Hamas in Gaza. Meanwhile, U.S. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer reportedly rejected Netanyahu's request to speak to Democratic senators. A video aired by Al Jazeera reveals an Israeli military drone targeting and killing 4 Palestinian civilians in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. The footage captured in February by an Israeli drone depicts the pursuit and successive missile strikes on unarmed youth who were searching for their homes amongst the rubble cleared by the Israeli army. Despite showing no signs of threat, all 4 were killed in the attack. The video showed the pursuit of the 4 Palestinian youth and their targeting with several missiles. 2 of the youth were killed with the first missile. Then the 3rd and 4th were killed with 2 more. The Palestinian Media Office condemned the incident, attributing it to a deep crisis within the Israeli occupation. They held the U.S. administration, international community, and arms supplying countries responsible for ongoing civilian casualties during the conflict's 6 months. American Muslim organizations plan to boycott the White House Ramadan and Eid celebrations in protest of President Joe Biden's stance on Israel's war on Gaza. The decision follows demands for an immediate ceasefire and criticism of the Biden administration's support for Israel. Robert McCow from the Council on American Islamic Relations says unless these demands are met, community leaders will decline any invitations. While the White House has not confirmed Ramadan events, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre has acknowledged the community's concerns. Biden expressed solidarity with Palestinians, but faces potential embarrassment from nationwide protests of his handling of the crisis in Gaza. He recently issued a statement saying that the war has inflicted terrible suffering on the Palestinian people and vowed to lead efforts to get more humanitarian aid to them. The nonprofit food bank Philabundance has been serving fully prepared meals to communities across Philadelphia in Ramadan. Last week, it served 1,000 fully prepared meals at the local Wright School. The initiative aims to distribute 7,600 culturally appropriate meals to Philadelphia's needy communities throughout Ramadan. It is part of a state senator Sharif Street's 4th annual Driving Hunger Away During Ramadan initiative. Street has emphasized the significance of providing meals during Ramadan, akin to giving turkeys on Thanksgiving and toys at Christmas. American Muslims lead in generosity by donating more locally. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. During Ramadan, American Muslims have been demonstrating remarkable generosity, with the majority of their charitable donations staying within the U.S. According to Indiana University's Muslim Philanthropy Initiative, Muslim Americans make an estimated $1.8 billion in zakat contributions every year. Zakat is a required pillar of Islam, in which Muslims are obligated to give on an annual basis. Ramadan intensifies this generosity with a significant portion pledged or given during the holy month. Contrary to misconceptions, 85% of the estimated $4.3 billion annual donations from Muslim Americans are directed towards domestic causes. These include poverty alleviation and healthcare improvement. Shariq Siddiqui from the Muslim Philanthropy Initiative says that while 50% of donations support Muslim-led organizations, about 40% assist non-Muslim groups. Despite comprising only 1.1% of the population, research indicates that Muslim Americans contribute more per capita to charitable causes than non-Muslims. Their donations are supporting diverse initiatives from local food banks to universities. This year, as before, Muslim Americans have responded generously to appeals, providing substantial aid to Gaza in Ramadan. The Justice Department has initiated an antitrust lawsuit against Apple for using exclusionary and anti-competitive practices to remain the leader of the smartphone market. Attorney General Merrick Garland has highlighted Apple's alleged monopoly power, asserting it was achieved through violating antitrust laws rather than product superiority. The lawsuit alleges that Apple's actions have driven up prices, limited market options, and compromised app, phone, and accessory quality. It claims Apple obstructed competitors within its ecosystem, impacting areas like messaging and digital wallets. Joined by 16 state attorneys general, the suit filed in the U.S. District Court for New Jersey follows actions against other tech giants. Apple has warned that the lawsuit could hinder innovation and set a concerning precedent for technology regulation. The company's stock dropped significantly following the announcement. New York Attorney General Letitia James has begun the process of seizing ex-President Donald Trump's properties in the States. This is following a $454 million judgment against him for civil fraud. The judgment, registered on March 6th in Westchester County, targets Trump's Seven Springs estate and the Trump National Golf Club. The former president's attempts to secure a bond for appeals has been rejected by 30 insurance companies. Trump's legal team argues that the bond requirement is unprecedented, making it impossible for him to comply. With a deadline looming, Trump faces the possibility of paying the fine in cash or risk losing his properties. Trump has criticized Judge Arthur Engoron's ruling on the Truth Social, claiming it is unreasonable. His legal team is seeking intervention from the New York Supreme Court, citing potential irreparable harm to Trump and his business empire. Trump has 4 days to comply with the judge's terms. The last of 6 white former Mississippi law enforcement officers involved in the torture of 2 black men has received a 10-year prison sentence. The judgment follows an emotionally charged 3-day trial that sheds light on what analysts say are disturbing details of the deputies' brutality. Earlier, Brett McAlpin, the highest-ranking officer present, was sentenced to more than 27 years in prison. Officers entered Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker's home in January 2023 without a warrant, subjecting them to racial slurs and beatings. Jenkins and Parker are both black. One victim was shot in the mouth. The officers left without providing aid, destroyed surveillance footage, and falsely charged Jenkins. Mississippi State Attorney General Lynn Fitch and the Justice Department have condemned their actions. In Wuppertal, Germany, an unidentified individual attempted to set fire to a mosque on Thursday morning, according to authorities. Around 4:20 a.m. local time, the suspect tried to ignite a burning object at the mosque's entrance, causing minor damage. Police are seeking witnesses and urging anyone with information to come forward. DİTİB, the Turkish Muslim organization managing the mosque, condemned the attack and emphasized the importance of community safety, particularly during Ramadan. The group has called for solidarity against hate and violence. It has also raised concerns about rising racism and xenophobia in Germany, influenced by far-right and anti-Muslim propaganda. Germany is home to nearly 5 million Muslims. Approximately 16.7 million people in Syria need humanitarian assistance, marking the highest in the 13-year conflict. UN Special Envoy for Syria, Geir Pedersen, says after 13 years, the conflict has continued on numerous fronts, with regional effects persisting. He is urging traditional and non-traditional donors to give generously to save the lives in Syria. Pedersen says half of Syria's pre-war population has been displaced, with large numbers unable to return due to security and living conditions. He notes that a meeting of the Syrian Constitutional Committee could not be convened in Geneva in April, as the regime of President Bashar al-Assad refused to attend. The Syrian civil war began in 2011, when the Assad regime brutally cracked down on pro-democracy activists. UN Deputy Secretary General Joyce Suya says 7 million people have been displaced in Syria, with about 13 million in need of food assistance. She warns that despite the record number of people in need of humanitarian assistance, funding has reached record lows. A prominent opposition figure and chief minister of India's capital, Delhi, has been arrested by the nation's financial crime agency. Arvind Kejriwal's arrest coincides with the announcement of the schedule for general elections in India, with the first phase of polling to begin on April 18th. The agency says Kejriwal has been apprehended over corruption accusations linked to the city's liquor policy. The arrest announced by his party comes as a blow. Kejriwal now joins other jailed leaders of his Aam Aadmi Party, or AAP. The Congress Party, India's main opposition political group, has accused Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government of crippling the party by freezing its bank accounts. Its leader Rahul Gandhi has described these moves as attacks on democracy, leaving his party with no money to contest elections. Gandhi asserted that there is no democracy in India today. That's all from our Toronto studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.